Hi, my name is Florian Adler. I'm a designer and I've been running a communication design office for over 30 years. Together with my colleagues, we do corporate and information design. And we researched and developed into the field of inclusive design. And this is what I want to talk about. We need to communicate, to find our way in the world and to participate in society. This is why free access to information is a key requirement in the United Nations Disability Rights Convention, which entered into force in 2009. If you look around the public space, we find numerous examples of thoughtless and inappropriate design which are equally useless for people with visual impairment. These examples of wayfinding systems in hotels, retirement homes and hospitals show the problems with poor typography, insufficient contrast and reflective surfaces. And a floor indicator for guiding blind people, which ends at a glass door, is downright dangerous. Easy-to-read guidance systems are especially important in places where we are confronted with stress and fear. This does not, however, just affect people who suffer from eye diseases. It affects all of us. If you've ever stayed in a hotel and, while in the bathroom without your glasses, tried to wash your hair with body lotion from those tiny indistinguishable bottles, you'll know what I'm talking about. You can't see anything but the logo. In the following, I will give you a short insight into these topics. A very brief explanation on vision and visual impairment. DIN 1450, a German standard which describes how typefaces are presented legibly. Our interactive website legibility.info, which presents the most important factors I will talk about, and which explains technical backgrounds and provides sources for the further details. The website is unfortunately only partially translated into English, but we are working on it. And finally, very briefly, can accessible design also be attractive? We usually forget that reading is first a physical activity before the mind comes into play. Therefore, reading is first and foremost about ergonomics. When our eyes fixate a sign, it's projected onto the area of sharpest vision of our retina. Whether the internal forms of a character can still be recognized depends on the size and nature of the character and the viewing distance. But it also depends on the visual acuity of the observer. Visual acuity refers to the resolving power of an eye. It is measured as the smallest visual angle at which two objects are just about to be perceived as separate. For example, two strokes of a letter can still be distinguished. The visual angle is measured in minutes of arc. Average normal vision is a visual acuity of 1, which equates to a visual angle of 1 minute of arc. This means that you can, for instance, make out two objects separated by 0.3 millimeters at a distance of 1 meter. Normal visual acuity depends on your age. It can be as much as 1.6 for younger people and between 0.6 and 1 for older. If you can only recognize the same object from 70 centimeters, you have a visual acuity of 0.7. This is the lowest value at which you can take your driving test in Germany. I should point out here that visual acuity is always measured in the strongest eye and with visual aids like glasses or contact lenses. If to identify an object that a person with normal vision can recognize at 100 centimeters, you need to be 30 centimeters away or less, we would say you have a visual impairment. People who have severe visual impairment can only recognize the object at 5 centimeters. A visual acuity below 0.02 would constitute blindness. Figures from the World Health Organization show a high incidence of visual impairment, even in Western countries like Germany. Our aging society means that the number of people with impaired vision will continue to grow. Visual impairments not only mean blurred vision, but also low contrast, peripheral scotomas, also called tunnel vision, and central scotomas, as they cause macular degeneration. There are very different symptoms of visual impairment, and for this, not just one solution for all. But there are factors that influence legibility and readability. We all benefit from this, whether we are visually impaired or not. In Germany, we have the DIN 1450 standard on legibility, which was updated in 2013. The Standards Committee was led by Albert Jan Pohl, who created the font FF-DIN, and included designers and typographers like Indra Kupferschmidt or Ralf Herrmann, but also font editors like Linotype, physiologists, engineers, and representatives of the German Federation of the Blind and partially sighted. In this committee, we developed new recommendations for the use of fonts based on today's technical requirements and the current state of research. We also took into account the needs of people with visual impairments. This standard lists over 40 factors influencing the legibility of characters and the readability of text. Legibility refers to the recognizability of individual characters. Readability, on the other hand, refers to text comprehensions. I can only mention a few aspects here. Let us start with the font size, which of course depends on the viewing distance, but also on the text genre. DIN 1450 distinguishes between 4 text genres. Body text is continuous text that you want to read comfortably, for example text in books, magazines, medical instructions, and text on exhibition panels. Consultation text is a text which is explanatory and supplementary to the body text, such as marginal notes, footnotes, captions, or indices. Consultation text is usually only short text that can be set in smaller font sizes and robust fonts. Signing text serves to assist in orientation and wayfinding. This is where the highest demands are placed on legibility. Therefore, fonts with low line width contrast and open forms are recommended. Lineal typefaces, known as humanist sans, are suitable for signage text. These typefaces have larger apertures which allow for clear character differentiation in less than ideal reading conditions, such as fuzziness and glare. This is why visually impaired people prefer fonts of this category for all text genres. Finally, display text serves to organize body text and is used for emphasis, for example in headlines and titles. There are no requirements for display text except a more or less 50% larger type size than body text. Here you really can design as you like. But type size depends on the viewing distance and the text genre. For example, the standard recommends for body text at a viewing distance of 40 centimeters an X height of at least 1.5 mm. This corresponds approximately to 9.5 pica points. Unfortunately, fonts have very different proportions, although they are set in the same font size. Capital heights of different typefaces set in the same type size can differ by as much as 20%. X heights can differ by as much as 40%, and this makes really a big difference in terms of legibility. With the same X height, legibility is presented in a completely different light. In mixed notation, the size of the X height is decisive for legibility. For this reason, the X height is the nominal size for the type sizes in DIN 1450, not the font size in pica points. But how can you now determine concrete font sizes for your communication design? On our website legibility.info, which summarizes the recommendations of DIN 1450 standard for the needs of people with and without visual impairments, we present an interactive way. With a font size calculator, you can determine precise values for the correct font size depending on the medium and the viewing distance, the visual acuity and the text genre. The contrast calculator can be used to determine adequate contrasts of font color and background for screens and for printed material, according to the recommendations of DIN standards and the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. When selecting suitable fonts, the following factors are important for legibility. In order for letters to be recognized, they must first be learned. Their form follows fixed conventions. The fact that these three letters denote the same consonant is not formally comprehensible and can only be recognized by knowledgeable readers. Characters with very similar forms are more difficult to recognize than characters with more differentiated forms. Typefaces with more differentiated forms are hence more legible and more appropriate for use in signage text, consultation and body text. Characters with smaller apertures, as seen with the typeface Arial, are more difficult to recognize than characters with larger apertures, such as those in the typeface Calibri. Typefaces with more open apertures are hence more legible under less than optimal reading conditions and are more appropriate for use in signage, consultation and body text. Typefaces from the Girald and Humanist classification groups, as well as transitional typefaces, are known to be highly legible and are considered suitable for body text. Typefaces with very thin hairlines and serifs are less appropriate. The latter applies to many didonic, for example Bodoni, what we call classicist. In particular, in poor visibility conditions, glare or overexposure, thin hairlines break off. This simplified overview of various principles of typeface design shows that humanist sans serifs have more open and distinct character shapes and the most stable stroke widths than other typefaces. These fonts are particularly recommended for readers with visual impairments. Neo-grotesques such as Arial or Helvetica are less suitable due to their more closed letter forms. When using serif fonts, Girald typefaces are preferable. Didonic typefaces are not suitable because of their fine hairlines. You can find many other factors on legibility on legibility.info. Finally, I would like to give you a very brief example of best practice with which we wanted to prove that inclusive design can not only be accessible but also attractive. We tend to associate the idea of accessibility with wheelchair ramps, disabled toilets and documents printed in Arial 14 points. In other words, mostly unattractive aids that no one really wants to have anything to do with. That's also what the communication media of the German Federation of the Blind and Partially Sighted used to look like. It was very unattractive and not particularly inviting for sighted friends and relatives. For the relaunch of the media, we organized a workshop with 6 representatives of the most frequent eye diseases of the Federation and interviewed another 46 readers of the membership magazine. Nothing for us without us is the Federation's slogan for participation. In 3 workshops we presented different fonts and layout options and had them evaluated by the members. Finally, we decided to use the font Frutiger 1450, which Linotype had optimized according to the recommendations of DIN 1450. It has open internal shapes and a good distinguishability of the characters. The desired tonality of the Federation named terms like multicolored, surprising and innovative. The new magazine title should be called Sichtweisen, That means as much as point of view or perspective. The title deliberately plays with the topic of visual impairment and doesn't hide it. The concept of the title pages is based on changing strong colors and exempted pictures. The table of contents shows the color coding of the individual sections, which are additionally marked by icons. The inside pages are marked by colored areas with titles and introductory texts. Small icons mark details of authors or captions. The magazine theme is introduced by a double-page photo. Columns and paragraphs are separated by lines for better legibility. We've also redesigned the association's website with a similar color coding and typography. At the end, inclusive communication design makes information available, comprehensible and equally attractive to as many people as possible. Yet typographic design that is good and aesthetically pleasing for all readers and applications does not exist. This is why the recommendations on legibility info are not intended as instructions for one correct design. Rather, we want to raise awareness of the issues and provide tools that will help designers make decisions. The site does not aim to replace the designer's own skill and empathy or the need to review and question one's own design. These elements are and remain indispensable. So please use legibility info, and I promise we will translate it in English very soon. Thank you for your attention.